Hey, what's up guys, welcome to the channel. I'm John Maffio, also known as MaffmanJones on YouTube, and this is my review and my little thanks for this finale of Breaking Bad, entitled Felina, Blood, Meth, Tears. I don't even know where to begin right now. If you could tell by my eyes, I just finished watching Talking Bad, and I wanted to finish that before I even started discussing the show, and everything that's done. I'm so choked up. Jesus, I need a tissue. Aaron Paul, if you were here to say bitch right now, you would be gladly appreciated. So let's get the episode through first. So it starts off right where it left off. Bryan Cranston, Walter White, he's going back to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he's trying to evade the cops. And basically, before his shit goes down, he decides to basically say goodbye, say a little, goodbye to everybody. And now, I thought he was going to try to murder Elliot, Gretchen, and Grey Matter in general, but instead, he gives them all this money, and he hires Skinny Pete and Badger as hitmen, which is genius, by the way. And he's like, guys, you better keep this money until the time is right. You better give it to my son, Walter Jr., for college. Otherwise, I'll have these two numbskulls pierce you when you don't expect it. And it was a very, very intense scene leading up to that, and it was Walter White, Heisenberg, metaphorically was a ghost. He was a dead man walking throughout this entire episode because the cinematography was genius, by the way, because the way it was shot with 35mm, but like 1 minute he wouldn't be there and the next he would be there. He was gliding through this earth. And there are some shots in this episode where it stays still and he won't be there, but then the next second it'll zoom in and Bryan Cranston will be in the shot. And the best example is when he's in the new house that Skylar is in, a new apartment of sorts, and the camera zooms in, and with Skylar's reflection on the toaster, you have Bryan Cranston in the corner there, just appearing. So then he goes to talk to Skylar, and he needs 5 minutes, and he basically just reveals the final truth about himself, that he did all for him. It was his ego, and he enjoyed being Heisenberg. He enjoyed it. And he goes to say goodbye to Holly and his wife, Skylar, but he doesn't say goodbye to Walt Jr., because it would break Walt Jr.'s heart, and Walt Jr., he's basically, Flynn is against his father completely, so it would do him injustice to see him in person, but seeing Walt watch his son come home from school, go into the apartment, and he just starts to walk away and fade into the blur, it's eerie, man. The episode leading up to the last 15 minutes was just straight up eerie. He also gives Lydia the ricin, and in a very clever way, mind you. We don't see Lydia die, but we see the effects of the ricin. It's a very slow, graduate pull to death, towards death, and we see her in the midst of it. We don't see her actually die, so I would assume she would die the night of that incident, or a day or two after. So she would have this really severe flu, and then a day or two later, gone. But she has a daughter, so I guess the daughter's going to be traumatized for life. And in the midst of all this, Walter White walking around like a dead man, which he was. They show the parts of the season where he goes to the breakfast area, he spells a 52 with the bacon. He goes back to the White residence, the old one, and he sees all the devastation that occurred there. And then there's a flashback to the first episode of Season 1, which I believe, it was in Season 1 definitely, and it's the happy birthday moment. And that just killed me inside. And it was the moment he was thinking of in that moment, and it was a really somber. This whole episode was so somber, and it was so just devastating emotionally to the heart. But like a little flashback like that really did a lot of justice for the episode, and it really shows how far the show has gone and progressed. And then from here, Walter White goes to the middle of nowhere, and he constructs a device which includes a heavy SMG. And a device that allows it to pull automatically and string back and forth like a sprinkler. Except there's no noise like that because that would be annoying. He goes back to the neo-Nazis and he's there to solve unfinished business. And way back we see Jesse, Aaron Paul, and they show him as a carpenter. He's a metaphor for Jesus Christ. Yo, I got crucified, bitch. As a devoted Catholic, I'm definitely going to hell for that. But anyway, he's sculpting something with the wood, and then the next second, they show him in real time, and he looks almost as bad as Walter White, maybe worse, because he looks like a hobo. So the neo-Nazis and Walter are all in this room, and they're about to kill Walter White, but no, Walter's like, no, I have unfinished business with you. You said you would kill Jesse, but you just kept him hostage. You just used him to cook meth. And they say, no, wait, let's just bring Jesse in the room with us to prove everything wrong here. And they're all in the room, the neo-Nazis, Walter, Jesse, and Todd. And then Before you know it, Walter grabs the keys, he activates the machine gun, he basically spears Jesse to the ground to make sure that he was protected by all this, and that's a really sweet moment in the midst of all this chaos. So, he gets pierced by the SMG. He basically pierces himself from something he created, which is a whole nother metaphor anyway. So all neo-Nazis die except for Todd, the asshole, and the main guy, Uncle Jack. Walter White, in a really big moment of badassery, just shoots Uncle Jack in the face, and you see the blood splatter onto the camera. One of the best moments in the whole series, that was. Jesse proceeds to take his cuffs and choke Todd to a really, really crazy death. A slow, unsettling death, but a satisfying death for the audience nonetheless. And then we have this really cool Wild Wild West moment between Jesse and Walt. And Walt slides over his pistol to Jesse, and he's telling Jesse to kill him because he wants this. But Jesse notices that Walt already he was pierced by his own machine gun, and he says, no, I don't want no part of this. You already got shot, so I don't need the satisfaction of shooting you because you're already gonna die. So Jesse basically takes the car, whatever car was left in the lot outside, and he drives away, and Jesse is a character who escapes. The show with Jesse's character does become ambiguous with what happens to his character, but I think he goes to Brock, first of all, to comfort him, because first of all, his mom, Andrea, is dead now. And then he might have taken Brock with him and gone somewhere far, far away, and that's my opinion. In the last moments of Walter White, he's walking around very slowly, and he goes to the meth lab that Todd and Jesse were using, and he has one last moment with the machine, and he just touches one of the canisters with his bloodified hands, and he just has a moment to just, be like, well, this was my life, and I'm ending it like this. And he seemed very content with his incoming death. And then the next shot you see is the police coming, and they approach the dead body of Walter White as he just stares into the sky, and the camera pans up, 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 and away, and thus executively produced by Vince Gilligan. Game over. The show ended with Walter White's character as I expected. He wasn't going to get out of this alive. A lot of characters actually who I expected to die in some brutal way got out alive, and I'm happy for that. The show ended in a surprising way that I didn't expect, but it was still a very satisfying one. I learned about this show back in early 2012, and I didn't watch it until Netflix around early June, and I watched the whole show in a week, and I was ready for season 5 in July a month before, and from there was just history. I mean, I never had an experience with a show like with this one. It was so gratifying to just have this experience that I had with the show. And I mean, the last time I had this most emotional impact was with Lost. And Lost was just a show that went all over the fucking place. This show was consistent. It just kept building up, and it never had loose ends. There are some loose ends in the finale, but they were ones that were forgivable and ones that aren't, plot holes. The show just kept getting better season by season, and every episode is memorable in some way, shape, or form. From June 2012 to tonight, never forget it. I will never, ever forget it. Someday, when I'm a family man, and I have my wife and my son or daughter, sons and daughters, if I decide to become like Steve Martin and have 12 kids, I'm going to show them all this show. I will binge watch it with them, and I will go through all the terror, the laughs, the comedy, everything in this show. I will relive the experience with my sons and daughters and my family. I will never forget this show as long as I live. There's never going to be a show like this again. You can't replicate, you can't emulate, you can emulate aspects of the show, but you can't replicate a show like this. There will never be a show like this ever again. It's like with The Twilight Zone, it's like with The Honeymooners, and all these classic shows, comedy, drama, everything, they come every so often in a decade. There's only a couple of them every so often, and when they're gone, you really do appreciate them after they're gone. And I've been trying to just engulf this experience right now before it was over, and now that it's over, it's hard to accept. I don't know if everybody in the show is going to spend their time watching YouTube videos of people who are thanking them for the show, but if they do watch it, and if you guys do get the opportunity to watch this video, and if you are watching it right now, I want to thank you all. I want to thank you, Vince Gilligan, Bryan Cranston, Aaron Paul, Anna Gunn. Please forgive me because I'm not good with everybody's names on the show, but everybody in the cast, everybody who wrote a script, everybody who was involved with the show in some creative process, absolutely every person who had some type of minuscule involvement in the show Breaking Bad. I thank you. I thank you so much for dedicating yourselves for over 5 years to a show that will never be forgotten. It's just... But let's look at the bright side, guys. Now that Breaking Bad is over, we have all the time in the world to watch Low Winter Sun, the next best thing on AMC. What a transformation, what a journey, and just what a ride it has been. Goodbye, Breaking Bad. I will miss you. Millions and millions of viewers around the world will miss you. And you'll never be forgotten. Bye, bitch.